Hello everyone and welcome back to World of Warplanes, and today we're going to take a look at one of the Tier 8 premium multi-role fighters. It's going to be the ME-109TL. But before we get started, I'm going to try to talk a little bit louder, so even if the mic itself can't record louder, maybe by me talking a little bit louder, it's going to be just that little bit extra louder. So let's see if it works. I don't know. But anyway, before we get started too much, let's jump into the history. Also, if you guys don't want to look at a specific part of the review, because it can be kind of long, go down to the description of this video, as have been the past couple reviews, and look for the time stamps, the time cards, because I will have posted them down there, and it should allow you to skip parts that you don't care to see, which I think is fine. So if we pop in, we're going to look at the ME-109TL. According to Wargaming, it says it was a blueprint created on the basis of the BF-109 featuring a jet engine, presented in January 1943 as a backup for the ME-262. The project was discontinued. When I was looking up history on the internet of this plane, I really couldn't find a whole lot. My guess is if it was produced, um, I really don't think it was made. It's probably just blueprint form. It was a concept that made it so that, hey, the 262, it's pretty successful, right? It's actually doing quite well. Once Hitler decided not to make it a bomber, now it's a fighter, and it's seeing a lot of success against the bombers. Why not take our most, well, at least one of our most successful concepts or designs during the war and strap jet engines to it? So I think that's kind of the whole premise of this, and because it had extra thrust, it was able to put a little bit stronger guns on there. So as we go on with the review, you're going to find this has much stronger guns, much stronger guns than you would get on planes such as the ME-209A. So, without further ado, that's about all I can do for history on this plane. There's really not a whole lot. The only history I could find were wargaming articles or wargaming forum threads. So maybe I didn't search enough, but I don't want to go digging around for finding history. So for all intents and purposes, this plane did very little on history. If it did exist, it was only on blueprints and it wasn't super. Um, the fall of Germany or Nazi Germany ended before this plane could come to fruition. So, anywho's, that's about the extent we're going to be able to go to for history. So, if we take a look at the stats, let's pop up the comparison sheet that I created for this, um, so we can kind of get an idea of how this 109TL stacks up to the other planes. And if we take a look, we can immediately notice on maneuverability that it's actually quite low. Even for multi-roles, it's one of the worst in terms of maneuverability. So do not expect to be turn fighting your opponents. If you are turn fighting your opponents other than heavy fighters, but even then, even certain heavy fighters can potentially outturn you if they do it right. So really be careful. Even against heavy fighters, it might be best to just go away and try to come around on them at a different moment. You really have to think about your attack approaches. You are not maneuverable. Even for multi-role standards, you are very low. So you are not going to outmaneuver any fighters for the most part, and you really aren't going to outmaneuver most of the multi-roles. With that being said, let's move on to airspeed. Airspeed, will notice that it's actually the highest in this comparison, not by much, but it is the fastest multi-roll. And generally, multi-rolls generally are faster than fighters, but they don't have as good a boost. They have stronger engines because they'll either have more engines or they'll just have stronger engines than fighters, but that comes at a cost of having pretty terrible boost. Multi-roll boost is not very good, and on top of that, you'll still get planes like the Mustang Or you'll be facing planes like the Horton 229 or the J8M that will just straight up go faster than you. You do not outspeed really any heavy fighters, so the 262 is definitely going to catch up to you. Most other heavy fighters are going to catch up to you. You might even struggle to keep up with some bombers if they're at high altitude and going very fast, because this thing doesn't really have that great of altitude performance. But we'll get to that later on. Um, then the next part is firepower. Again, it's the best in this comparison, and that is due to its amazing four guns that it has. But we'll go over the guns a little bit later. So, yes, it does have great airspeed, it has great firepower. If you look at the altitude performance, it's tied for best again. So, it's got good airspeed, it's got good firepower, it's got good altitude performance. But before we go too crazy, these are multi rolls. I don't care how good your altitude performance is with on multi-roll, your altitude performance kind of sucks. So yes, you have technically the best altitude performance in this comparison. However, you're gonna have Mustangs, you're gonna have heavy fighters, you're gonna have bombers, you're gonna have a lot of other fighters even will just straight up have better altitude performance than you. Um, there's very few planes that you're going to be able to outclimb. You'll be able to get up to those altitudes, but you're going to make yourself vulnerable and you lose a lot of controllability. So, yes, technically you have the best altitude performance in this comparison, but if we look at this, there's even three other multi rolls that have the best altitude performance as you. So, your altitude performance, while it's tied for best, does not mean it's great altitude performance that you can use to your advantage. You can use it to your advantage against certain opponents, but don't rely on it. And then if we go to survivability, it's kind of middle of the road. You'll have more survivability than light fighters, but you still don't have a lot of hit points. So try not to get hit in the first place. And then if we go to ordnance, I added that extra category because the whole purpose of multi-rolls is to be flexible. There's only one plane out of this entire comparison that doesn't have any ordnance whatsoever, and that is the I-260. As you'll notice, the I-260 graph is at 0. Um, so yes, um, it's not that great. The 109TL, if you look, there's two planes. Let's see, it's the Thunderbolt and the F2G. So the American multi-rolls pack a heck of an ordnance layout. They have incredible ground pounding capabilities. However, they lack in terms of other stats, whereas you excel. So uh, if we exclude those two American planes that really feel like more flexible GAs than multi rolls, really, um, then you're actually kind of the best of the tier. Out of the other planes, you are the best in terms of ordnance, but that's not to mean that you have great ordnance. Uh, you don't have incredible ordnance, but it's workable. You're not going to be setting any worlds on fire. You're not going to be flipping factories like you can with the Thunderbolt or the F2G, but you're still going to be able to put a world of hurt on your opponent's sectors. So do keep that in mind. You do have decent ordnance capabilities. So with that being said, let's take a look at exactly what guns we do get on this plane. This plane comes with two 30 mils. I don't know. I'm not really sure if they go on any other plane. You guys will have to let me know in the comments because I really don't care to look around and try to figure it out. And you get two 20s. So you get a nice little spread of both. Actually, it's kind of surprising. I thought you got just four 30s, but apparently you get two 20s and two 30s. But really, they feel quite similar uh, overall. I mean, if you take a look, the 20s have increased rate of fire, but less damage per second, whereas the 30s have a slower rate of fire, but more damage per second. Honestly, even the 20s have greater range capabilities than the 30s. But that's something you got to keep in mind in this plane. This plane, although you have if you're aiming at your opponents, the aiming reticle will show that you're going to be able to start hitting targets at like upwards to 2,600 feet. But you have to take into account your 30s are not going to be doing damage. And after thinking about it, it does make a lot of sense. When I was flying this plane, I seem to do a lot more damage when I'm at close range, and I struggle to do damage when I'm further out. Now this makes sense. You have two guns, and your hardest hitting guns are shorter range. So it's very peculiar. It really is. Um, but it's something you got to keep in mind. So it's kind of interesting. I didn't really realize that. But you have those guns. They're good guns. Because you have four total good guns, this packs quite a punch. And as we saw in those charts, it does have the most firepower at the tier for multi-rolls. So it is impressive. It has the most airspeed and it has the best altitude performance for multi-rolls. So it's quite impressive, honestly. But it lacks in two categories: maneuverability and ordnance capability. I mean, kind of ordnance capability. If we take a look, we get one of these bombs, okay, and we get two of these rockets. These rockets aren't terrible, and this bomb isn't horrible. If we take a look, let's just out of curiosity go to the 265 and look at the bombs on the 265. They should be the same. No. Okay, the bomb is actually better than that on the 265. How about the 329? Is it the same? Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I didn't realize you got better guns on the 329, but yeah, you get better guns on the 329s. You get one bomb rather than two bombs from the 329, but that's not too bad. The reload isn't horrible. I think it's like 120 seconds or something like that. So it's really not that bad. Does it show? Oh, 90 seconds. 90 seconds on the bomb. No, that's not bad at all. So you gotta keep that in mind. You get two rockets, and they actually reload in only 60 seconds. So, keeping that in mind, it's actually pretty impressive, the ordnance capabilities. You won't be doing a lot of damage per salvo, but you get your salvo back in a fairly timely fashion. So, that's kind of interesting. But also, you also have to realize you have probably middle of the road altitude performance overall compared to planes at your tier. So it's kind of a weird plane because you have excellent airspeed and you have decent altitude performance. Not great, but it's decent for a multi-roll. So you're going to be dropping down frequently because your ordnance reloads quickly to drop your payload, and they're going to be using your airspeed to gain altitude that you had before. But in the process, you've made yourself somewhat vulnerable during your bomb run, and you've also had to use a lot of boost to get back up to where you were. So it's kind of a weird predicament, but it is what it is. They're not terrible ordnance capabilities, but yeah, that's what it is. Um, but I think that's about all we're gonna go over for the um, stats. It's definitely does a lot of things right, and I think a lot of people underestimate the potential of this plane. It's not super fun when it's not specialized. It can have its moments, and against bombers especially, this plane really shines. It doesn't do super well against German bombers if they're up really high, because really you shouldn't even be bothering going up after them if you're up at that altitude, if they're up at that high, but you know, it is what it is. Um, but anyway, now let's take a look at the equipment layout. So if we take a look, we get a cockpit, airframe, two engines, and a forward firing weapons slot. So if we take a look, we have um, there's really only one option. Just use firing accuracy. I've already explained myself a lot on these videos. Firing accuracy is really what you want. and that's about it. The only other option I would do is this one, but generally go with this one. If you really want this one, I'm sure you can make it work, but go with the site. It's just better. And then for this one, I went with the ultimate polished skin. Okay, so I went polished skin. I went speed because, as we saw, that was kind of the speciality of this plane was its speed. I had a couple best at this category of plane and at this tier, but it's still not the fastest plane at the tier, but it's really good airspeed. It's not bad. So increasing the airspeed a little bit, I just think it makes sense. So I'm gonna do that. You could do maneuverability, but I really don't think it's necessary. And the other ones don't really. You definitely don't want to do this because it reduces your aircraft speed. This reduces your maneuverability, which you don't have many hit points to begin with, so don't bother with that. And I mean, you could do this one if you really wanted to go like a maneuverability build, but if you want to do a maneuverability build with a tier 8 plane, I would much more recommend go for a different plane than this one. It's really not the goal of this plane is not to be maneuverable. That's for sure. And it's not that hard to keep your guns on target. You have pretty decent maneuverability for keeping your guns on target, not for turn fighting, but so I don't really think it's necessary. And then you get 2 of 3 of these. So your engines are really important, so you could go engine armor protection, and I even have a special project of USSR that I could put on there, but honestly, I would much rather just go for uh, increased boost potential and increased maneuverability. That does make my engine a little bit more susceptible to damage, but I don't care. And the last one, range of fire. You could do that if you wanted to, because your 30s are really short range. But personally, I wouldn't go long gun barrels just because I think the other one's just more useful. Burst length, I really don't think the guns overheat too fast as is, and this reduces your firing accuracy, so I really don't think you get enough out of it. So I'm going to go gas operated action. I already put this gyroscopic sight on, which increases accuracy, so it kind of balances. Actually, it does more than balance. It the negative is completely neutralized. Let's see, a 10% reduction in firing accuracy, but here's a 14% accuracy bonus. So it's completely negated the negative effect of this, and you gain the benefit of firing your guns faster. When this is stock, I think one of the biggest problems this plane has is I think the guns just fire a little bit too slowly. Um, they still fire faster than the 262 in my opinion. I don't know if that's legit, but it feels like they fire faster than the regular standard 262, but they still don't seem like they fire fast enough because oftentimes a plane will zigzag in between your shots and you won't do any damage. So, plus you're really fast, so you won't be spending a lot of time on target generally. Um, so being able to do more damage while you're on target is more effective, in my opinion. So that's why I went gas operated action. Again, there's room for debate. There's room for um, specializing it, but that's the way I went. So, anywho's, not gonna go I'm not gonna go over these two or the universal ammo because it's just kind of standard. Here, if you are finding that your engine gets damaged a lot, especially since we put an equipment module that reduces the survivability of the engines, you could put that on there and go with improve engine cooling. But I want to get a little bit more out of my engines, so I went with improved mixture control and engine cooling. I think on this aircraft, I could be mistaken, but I think on this aircraft it's beneficial to just use the emergency boost as 10 seconds of boost, or you can let it cool down, because regardless you're going to get about 10 seconds out regardless of how you use it. So it's just whenever you want to use it, use it. If you're low on boost, use it for the 10 seconds to get your boost back. If you need to get out of a situation quickly, use it as an emergency boost. But regardless, make sure you have engine cooling. This other one can be changed depending on your preference, but that's that. Let's go over pilot skills real quick. Marksman 1, Marksman 2 is a mandatory, because it's always a mandatory. I don't care what plane you're flying. It's mandatory for every plane. So Marksman 1, Marksman 2, I went with Engine Guru 1. Not sure if I'm going to do Engine Guru 2 though, because I just don't think Engine Guru 2 is that useful. It only does 2%, whereas Engine Guru 1 does 3%. I don't really understand. If this did engine thrust and top speed by 2%, it really should be more than 2%. If it was 5%, and then also it increased the cruise speed by 5%, I think Engine Guru would be pretty good, but I just don't think it's that useful. I'd rather go with cruise flight, which gives me 3% engine thrust and top speed if I'm not being shot at or shooting at aircraft for 20 seconds. So it's good for getting from sector to sector a little bit faster. So yeah, I like that. I just think Engine Guru 1 and Cruise Flight is almost more beneficial, especially since Cruise Flight only takes 2 skill points, Engine Guru 3 takes 3. So, do that. I think once you've done and Marksman 1, Marksman 2, Engine Guru 1, Cruise Flight, and then after you do Cruise Flight, go back to Engine Guru 2. I think you've basically used up all the skill points you could possibly have on this plane. Unless it becomes like your ultimate favorite plane or something. Sorry, I was getting thirsty. But anyway, I think that's about it. You can't actually put your beta sticker on there, but I didn't buy this one on ITL, but it's popped up in some of the loot crates over the past couple events, and I was fortunate enough to get it to drop in one of those supply crates. So I didn't have to do any work. I just had to get the supply crate, and I got it. Make sure you have Accelerate Crew Training on. It's useful. You can put any pilot on your plane, of course, because it's a premium. And then this is the paint scheme I got with it. I don't know if it was because it came with the supply crate or if I earned it some other way, but it's what I have, so it's what I put on there. Kind of don't like this emblem though. I wish there was better emblems, honestly. Probably just gonna change it to this one. I don't know. I just kind of don't like the other one, but anywho's. I think I'm gonna do something a little bit different this review actually. I think I'm gonna do a live battle. Because the replay that I have was before I was specialized. So I'll still show that replay, but I want to do a live battle to show you guys the potential of this plane while specialized. And I've not actually done a live battle before, so hopefully, fingers crossed, my internet doesn't suck too much and my computer doesn't suck too much that it just bogs it down and I can't do a battle. And hopefully we don't crash. Um, but hopefully we can get into a battle and I can show you guys the potential of this plane while it's specialized. It's kind of prime time on the east coast of America right now, so there's probably going to be a lot of people online, so you will see it not against bots, I almost guarantee you. But yeah, the replay that I have does meet my requirements. It does go above 20k, which is kind of the standard I try to set on this channel. Not necessarily to show, ooh, I'm such a good player, but more of a what is the ultimate potential this plane has. If you're not worrying about trying to win, but just trying to get a good score. So. How do the guns feel? That sort of thing. So if we take a look, we're going to be on Plateau, Cursed Valley. Alright, Trent, you stupid bot, shut up. So we have command centers and 3 garrisons. My thought process for this The only two sectors that really matter, especially in the beginning, are going to be the command center. Smile, you're on YouTube. Anyway, so we're going to go over to the command center. I'm going to show you guys the potential of these bombs and rockets. Personally, I would like to use my 2 rockets against targets that will give me decent amounts of points. So this sector right here, or section, is going to give me 30 points. So I'm going to use my rockets to weaken it, and then that bomb should be able to finish it off. And sure enough, it did. Okay. And now I'm just going to try to destroy these 3 air defense planes that are over here. Each one was going to give me 40 points. So if nobody dies, we'll flip this sector. Hopefully, fingers crossed. I did some damage. I'm gonna have to boost out right here though. Flipping around. Oh, yikes. Okay, this guy's injured. I'm gonna take him out. I really hate air defense planes. They're really overpowered. They will stay on your tail to no end. Okay, we're gonna flip around. He's gonna go head on with me. Idiot. And okay, he dodged my shots. I'm gonna keep turning with him. Oh, we got it. Alright, I'm gonna use engine cooling. Yeah, okay. After just experimenting, make sure you use it as 10 seconds of boost. Don't let it just reset, and you're not gonna get as much use out of it otherwise. I hadn't played this plane in a while, so I wasn't sure. We'll go for this GA. I'm gonna show you guys the potential against high health targets right now. Oh yeah, you see I do a lot more damage once I get up close to targets. That's when you can really start feeling the potential of this plane. And we have our ordnance back already, actually, so I might have to go over and use that. We almost had this garrison, so let's go over there and see what we can do about it. That's going to give me 15 points, don't really care about that. But this section right here is going to give me 30 points, so I'm going to go after that. Then we'll only need to destroy one other thing. So drop the bomb. I did it with 2 rockets, drop the bomb. And that should almost do it. I need to find a target. I don't really want to go after those heavy fighters, because I'm going to lose a lot of airspeed in these Japanese Zeros are going to do a lot of damage to me. Yes, we got it. Woo. Really want my engine cooling back so I can get boost. We got a bomber flight going after our garrison. Garrisons are really not that important. If we lose it due to the bomber flight, then I can just go and flip it back and not that worried about it. But more likely, they're just going to flip it without the bomber flight. So I really don't care. I mean, you could try to farm points, but like you get no points from bomber flights. So unless I absolutely have to, I just don't care about bomber flights. Okay, I injured him a little bit, but I really wanted to just try avoiding ramming right there. You know, you can't do anything if you're dead. So do some boost. These things are so freaking fast. So they do a lot of tail gunner damage. Oh, yes. Woo, that was close. That was close. So we've got a bomb. Okay, that's just a TU-2, so we can get up to the TU-2 and deal with him. But I'm going to wait for him to turn around, or I wasn't going to take a lot of tail gunner damage, and I'd rather minimize tail gunner damage. He's not going to turn around, though, because he's getting shot. There's another 109 TL. It's dead. Just like that. But we've got another bomber inbound. And really, this plane does very, very... Oh, don't go head on with me, you turd. Oh, we almost rammed. This thing does very well against bombers. Not so much the German bombers, especially if they're human-controlled. But against Soviet bombers, it does very, very well against. And yeah, you see, the guns did overheat, but they were able to take out the entirety of that bomber before they decided not to fire anymore. So it's not too bad. We got Pancake. He's going to be easy to knock out. I'm just going to line up my shots here. And splat. TU-2. things can be really annoying because they're actually fairly maneuverable. He's on fire, so he's going to die even if I don't get my guns on him. Yep. 109 TL, he's not specialized, so this should be an easy shot. Oh, I have my emergency boost as well, so we're good, but we're getting a lot of company over here. Come on, go, 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 go! I need to get my shots lined up. I hate these kind of fights. I'm just gonna ignore him. I'm not fighting him. I'm done. I don't want a dogfight. I need to just defend this sector. He can kill me if he wants. I really don't care. We're gonna lose the sector. Yep. No, he's not gonna shoot at me. It's weird. It's so kind of him. Come on, kill him. I did a lot of damage. Not quite enough to kill him, but yeah, it'll be really easy to get some extra free capture points as soon as the sector flips. Or as soon as the lock comes off. Don't you dare! Oh, that was so close. Something's shooting at me. I'm not gonna be able to get the bomber. I've lost all of my airspeed. Squall line's almost here. I'd really rather not die.
The command centers are ours, awaiting help from the front headquarters.
Come on, kill him. Stupid pilot's dead. Alright, I'm gonna get a new plane. Because if I don't get a new plane now, I'm just gonna die as soon as squall line hits. So yes, this is actually a valuable tactic. Don't listen to people that say it's not. If you know you're gonna die at squall line, if you don't, then you're more useful to your team to just get a new respawn while you still have the chance. That was our first death. It was an intentional death, but we'll be okay. I just realized they have a Horton 229. I'm glad I haven't seen him all battle. I really don't want to deal with him. So, anywho's, I'm gonna go defend that command center, but it's not really that useful. There's nobody over there. I'm just gonna go and attack this garrison. We're gonna win regardless, unless something tragic happens. We'll be fine. Testing it, yeah, okay. Just use your boost. You can use it as either. It doesn't really matter. You're gonna get about 10 seconds of extra boost regardless of how you use it. So just use it however you need. That should flip the sector though. That killed him. Okay, who's left? Typhoon? Frick. Please don't shoot at me. Please don't shoot at me. Save me. Save me. Where did my team go? Where'd their team go? Oh. Bots are actually useful, guys. In case you didn't know. So they've got a bot up there, or there's guaranteed extra damage right here. I'm gonna go for guaranteed damage. Because the battle is just about over. Ah, it's almost Winged Legend. That's not too bad for just a random battle. So yeah, that was a pretty decent battle. They had good players. They actually had higher scoring players than we did. But we got the win. Ha 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 ha. So anywho's, that's kind of the 109 TL specialized. I've had better battles, but because it's not super maneuverable, it can be kind of tricky. And really, it's got good airspeed, don't get me wrong, but it just feels like if you lose your airspeed for any reason, it's very hard to get your airspeed back. So try not to lose your airspeed in the first place. But as you can see, if I was out of airspeed, I couldn't go up to altitude. I couldn't get from sector to sector very easily. And that's why I think the engine cooling is mandatory on this plane. It's really mandatory. But yeah, it's not too bad of a battle, really, for just being a random Joe Schmo battle. So, Anywho, let's jump over to the actual good 20k replay. Alright, and welcome to the pre-recorded battle. That last battle we did, I did not do any edits, no cuts, just, random battle. Just, didn't really think too much about it. They always say that the streamer's curse is that, once you start streaming or recording for a video, you start doing terrible. But, that wasn't too bad. If I wasn't recording, I might have done a little bit better because I could have used my entire concentration on the battle. But, it's not too bad. That's why I try not to do live commentary too often, because it just kind of hurts me. But anyway, so we've got this battle. There's a lot of stuff in the middle. Um, when I was doing this, I was trying to find a battle when I was flying this to try to get a 20k game. That was my goal. I did not care about wins. I wanted a 20k game in this plane because I hadn't been able to get a 20k game in this plane. I think it's very tricky to get a 20k game in this plane. It really is. It's a good plane, and you'll get decent scores with it, but it's hard to get up to 20k. And in this battle, I think the only reason I was able to get up to 20k is because I was able to farm a lot of points from these B-32 bombers. They have 2 B-32s in this battle, and I'm going to be shooting down them a lot. And every time I kill one of them, I get like 1,000 points. So it's not too bad, really. So we're going to speed up. But as you can see, as soon as I'm able to get my guns to shoot at him, he's able to shoot it back at me. So the range on these guns is pretty bad, and it gives you a good argument for going with range on your guns rather than damage output, raw firepower. But I personally am just willing to get up close to targets to really do damage because I'm me. But just keep that in mind. If that range really does bother you, and you see, if I had an extra 300 feet of range or something, I would have been able to shoot at that B-32, and he wouldn't have been able to fire back at me, because all they've got, all those B-32s have, are 50 cal machine guns to shoot back at you. So if you can stay out of the range of their guns to begin with, they can't do any damage to you. So that's a good argument for why you would want to do the range on your guns rather than pure rate of fire on your guns. So anyway, I could go over and take that garrison, but I'm not going to because, well, I'm going for 20k. And we have 3 sectors already. Our missile base is shooting at it. We're going to take that sector. And I want this battle to last as long as I possibly can let it last. Because the longer a battle lasts, the higher probability you have of getting a 20k game. So we're going to come up and farm damage on the B-32. And please note, this plane does very, very well against bombers. B-32s, any of the Soviet bombers. And it does do well against German bombers if you can get at them. But, if they're above 10k, you are going to stall out trying to get them. So it's not really worth your time or effort. And also, you lose a lot of controllability if you go up that high. So you become a very vulnerable target yourself if you go up that high. So do keep that in mind. You have to be careful. I'm flying with Carter. I don't know if I said that already, but there's that. If you ever see my mouse in the upper left-hand corner, I use like a Windows recording software. It's like the default software that comes with Windows 10, and I have to go in borderless window mode to make sure that my recording software is working. It'll pop up a little thing, but sometimes my mouse will mouse over it as it's displaying, and when it does that, I can't fire my guns. So if you ever see the mouse on these recordings, it's that recording software. It's really annoying. So if you don't see me firing, but you see the mouse, it's because my recording software is getting in the way. So that kind of makes it annoying. I try not to record too many battles because that recording software gets very, very annoying very quickly. But anywho, it's the only recording software I have, and I'm not paying to buy new software. So, anywho's, we've got that taken care of. We're doing pretty good. Honestly, against heavy fighters, this thing does quite well. Multi rolls, it can chew up multi rolls. You have to be careful because you are like the least maneuverable multi roll at this tier, but you also have like the most firepower at this tier. A good way to describe this plane is you take a 262, you make it a little bit slower, you take away a lot of its altitude performance, you take away some of its speed, you take away some of its firepower, but in turn, you give it more reliable guns and you give it a little bit more maneuverability. So, also on the 262, you can either do, I think, 2 bombs or 24 rockets or something, air-to-air rockets. The air-to-air rockets are really useful. They really are on the 262. You don't get that in this plane. But, I don't know. I kind of like it. It's a more consistent 262 in my opinion. You don't have the top tier airspeed that the 262 has, and you don't have the crazy firepower. But I can never get that crazy firepower to hit anyway on the 262, so I just think this plane is a little bit more fun to play, I'd say. I'd much rather fly this than the standard 262. So do keep that in mind. It's not my favorite at this tier, but it does have potential. I think it's highly underrated. It's better than what people give it credit for. So take that as we will. Squall line's going to be here in 15 seconds, so if I'm going to get 20k, I need to start killing some crap. I need about 450 more points. So you can see right now, clearly, this battle is going to be a win. Unless they get superiority on us or kill every single one of us, we are going to win this battle. There is nothing about that. It's a guaranteed win. Um, so at this point, if I'm going to go for my 20k, I'm not going to defend sectors because I want them to flip sectors so the battle lasts longer. And I'm not going to take new sectors because, well, it shortens the battle. So at this point, my only goal is simply to sit at their spawn because everyone had just died. Squalling just came up. I can squall a bunch of them. It's risky, yes. Is it stupid? Yes. Yes, it is. But I will do a lot of crazy things to get these 20k games for these videos sometimes. And this will be that first 20k game I've had in this point, and the only 20k game I've had in this point. You gotta do some stupid stuff. That's another tip I kind of would like to give. If you're credit farming, don't go for wins. You do get more credits if you win, but you get a lot more credits if you do well. And by well, I mean lots of personal points. So, a tip of advice, if you're going for credit farming only, go for personal points and care little about winning. If you get these 20k games, if you get 17k games frequently in a tier 8 premium, even on standard account with no bonuses, you will make 250,000 credits per battle every single time. So, regardless of the win or loss. So, make sure if you're credit farming to just go for points. If you have to do spawn camp, if you have to do stupid stuff, don't care about wins as much if you're just credit farming. Make the battle last long, get those high scores, and you'll make more profit. Also, if the battle ends in superiority, you won't get as much potential for your battle, and you'll have to pay repair costs, and you'll still have to pay your service bill to resupply your consumables. So it's almost in your best interest to make the battle last longer and make more credits in your battle. 400,000 credits for on a premium account, that's not too shabby. I guess this was during an event. I got, I think, 3 days of premium account from a supply crate that I earned. So that's cool. Not too shabby. But anyway, that is about it for me on this. It's is it worth it? Yeah, it's a really fun premium. I think a lot of people would like it. It's very underrated, but it's not my favorite. So if you don't really think this playstyle is gonna fit you, it probably won't. So don't bother with it. But if you like boom and zoom aircraft, yeah, that's a good pickup. Um, but with that being said, thank you all so very much for watching. Please, please, please leave a comment down below. I could care less about likes and dislikes. I really just want to see interaction and see what you guys think about this. So please take a moment out of your day to go down to the comment section and just let me know that you watched. It means a lot. Anyway, stay safe, and I will catch you guys next time.